Hello and welcome to the program. The past week was a very dramatic one for Nigeria's new ruling party, the All Progressives Congress APC, and the country's parliament known as the National Assembly. Now, the APC is currently embroiled in a very serious crisis, even when it has not in the real sense begun governing the country. At the very heart of the crisis is the outcome of the election for the leadership of both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Senator Bukola Saraki from North Central Nigeria emerged the president of the country's Senate, but his election was not without a high-wire political drama and intrigues. He ran for the position against the direct instruction of his party, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, of course. The APC now had actually nominated Senator Ahmed Lawan for from the northeast of the country now as its candidate for the position, with Senator George Akume as his deputy. The party, which has the majority in the Senate, also instructed all its senators to support both Lawan and Akume. But after what turned out a dramatic election, it was Senator Saraki and the PDP Senator Ike Ekweremadu who emerged president and deputy president of the Senate. Saraki was elected unopposed as Senator Lawan at the time had gone for a meeting called by President Muhammadu Buhari at the International Conference Center in Abuja. That meeting was actually called as a last-minute effort to resolve the crisis over who the party should field for the Senate presidency and speakership positions in Parliament. But while 51 APC senators went for the meeting, Saraki and a few other APC senators boycotted it and rather went to join the opposition PDP senators in the Senate, where, of course, the Senate was inaugurated and Saraki elected Senate President unopposed. Now, only 57 of the 109 senators that make up the Senate were present at the inauguration and took part in the voting. Saraki's election was made possible after the People's Democratic Party PDP adopted him for the position of Senate President. Now let's turn to the House of Representatives. As it was in the Senate, so was it in the House, where Yakubu Dogara from Bauchi State in northeast Nigeria emerged Speaker of the House of Representatives after defeating Femi Gbajabiamila from Lagos, southwest Nigeria in a keenly contested election. Dogara polled 182 votes to Gbajabiamila's 174. Both men belong to the ruling All Progressives Congress, which is the majority party in the House. But like Senator Saraki in the Senate, Dogara contested the election against the instruction of his party not to run. The APC leadership has settled for Femi Gbajabiamila as its sole candidate, but Dogara refused to step down and went ahead to contest the election, which he won. For the seat of Deputy Speaker, two APC candidates also slugged it out. Yusuf Lasun from Osun State in southwest Nigeria ran against the party's candidate Tahir Monguno from Borno State, northeast Nigeria. Eventually, it was Lasun who won, beating Monguno by 203 votes to 153. Now, what has the party done? It has rejected the election of both Senator Bukola Saraki as president, of course, of the Nigerian Senate, and Yakubu Dogara as Speaker of the House of Representatives. In a statement issued shortly after the election, the party said the election of both men were, quote, unacceptable, and that their action is a clear demonstration of the highest level of indiscipline and treachery. The statement, of course, issued by Lai Mohammed said it is meeting to take the appropriate disciplinary measures against both men for what it calls a monumental act of indiscipline and betrayal. The party says it will use all constitutional and legal means available to it to resolve the crisis. Now, President Buhari has also been reacting, but he did not sound tough like his party. In a statement issued by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president said while the election was constitutional, he would have wished the decision of his party, the APC, was respected and its candidates voted in. Part of the statement reads, quote, President Buhari had said in an earlier statement that he did not have any preferred candidate for the Senate and the House of Representatives, and that he was willing to work with whoever the lawmakers elected. that sentiment still stands, though he would have preferred the new leaders to have emerged through the process established by the party. End of quote. Now, a day after the Senate election, the APC senators who were in the Senate for the inauguration who actually were not there for the inauguration, turned up and were inaugurated by the Senate president. Shortly after that, senators backing both Saraki and Lawan addressed a press conference. Here's what they said at that press conference.
We did not say that the quorum was not formed for the inauguration. We say the quorum was not formed for the election of the president, and that should be 2/3 of the senators present.
Order 10 is clear. Order 10.1. The quorum of the Senate shall be 1/3 of the members of the Senate. I no go school. Please, 1/3 of 109 is what? 38.
Joining me on the program right now to discuss this further is Senator Anthony Adefuye, who used to be in the Senate, and of course, I'm not so sure he actually witnessed a crisis like this. Senator Adefuye, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let's begin by asking you what your thoughts are on this crisis that is currently rocking your party. What happened in the National Assembly, especially in the Senate?
Well, it's shocking. One does not expect this to happen in one's lifetime, but it has happened. And if it is a game, it's going to be an endless game. And if it is a plot, it's a very dangerous plot. I wish the party will put everything in order. It's unusual for the party to say they will not interfere in the National Assembly because definitely there must be zoning. If the president is in the north, the vice president will come from the south. And if the Senate president is in the north, the speaker will come to the south. In a situation where you have the president in the north, the Senate president in the north, and the speaker in the north, and then all the vices are in the south, are you saying that the south is subordinate to the north? It has never happened before. And this is why everything has to be done again, so that there is balancing. If you don't have balancing in Nigeria, then there is going to be, the future is going to be very, very shaky.
Now, let me just ask you, we saw this in the last assembly, that's the 7th assembly, when the former speaker, Tambuwal, did the same thing when he was in the PDP. Now it is happening to the APC. Some people have said, well, maybe it's actually payback time.
Well, it may be payback time or not, but you see, when politicians are playing against themselves, they must consider the feelings of the people. If you remember at that time, the president was from the south, so it didn't really matter if you have the speaker and the Senate president there, because the president, the major thing, was in the south. Now, you have to put all this into consideration. If you say because it was done during the last thing, you are now doing it back, it's going to be very difficult for the common people. People should take the feelings of the common people into consideration. If they start like this, then it means we are going back into the old corruption agenda. In a situation where you still have David Mark playing the lead role in the National Assembly, where you see we have the former deputy Senate president still there, then which corruption are we fighting? These are the people we said we want to change. And even though the people have pushed them out, they have found a way or the other to push themselves in. Things must be corrected if we are going to have a stable government.
Now, because you talked of balancing the other time, let me just ask you, isn't there balance in here? Because the Deputy Senate President is actually from the Southeast, and the Deputy Speaker is actually from the Southwest. Is that not balanced enough?
No, the President Speaker is not from the Southwest.
No, I mean the Deputy Speaker.
No, you cannot have deputy in the South. We are not subordinate. We are not a subordinate nation to the North. You know, we are not subordinate to the North. You give a wrong impression that the people in the North are superior. That's the impression you give to the outside world and to the people in the South. No, you don't do things like that. You don't do some. A party must organize itself so that there will be balancing and equal distribution of positions. You must do it.
Now, let's talk about the issue of quorum, because that's one issue that is generating a lot of controversy. We saw the APC senators who did not take part in the protest come out to say, look, the 57 senators who sat down in the Senate to hold that election did not form the quorum. That you know, but then the senators who are loyal to the Senate president now are saying, well, the quorum should have been 38. You have been in the Senate before. What exactly is the position of things? Now,
the quorum to sit is different from the quorum to conduct an election to appoint the officers of the Senate. And number two, there must be inauguration of all the senators before you can begin to speak of quorum. Look, there is no way, if you juggle with interpretation, you are juggling with the mind of the common people. Look, the thing is simple. There is going to be an inauguration. The president is supposed to come and inaugurate, and for one way or the other, the president wasn't there, and somebody just said, call for election, and with the PDP senators, majority of the PDP senators were there. The APC senators were not there. And this thing continued. So it's either the clerk of the House was trying to be funny, or somebody behind was indirectly manipulating the situation in the National Assembly. And the worst of it is that it was announced that all the APC National Assembly members are going to have a meeting with Mr. President at 9 o'clock. With that announcement, everything should have been put on hold. But if you now have 17 members now going secretly behind to join the PDP, you know, to now have an election to select members of the Senate, something is wrong. Something is wrong somewhere. Let me ask
you, if as we know that the PDP adopted Senator Saraki, for instance, and we know that the senators who were not actually in the Senate that day when the election took place are actually 51, would it have made any difference at all? Because it would appear that Saraki would still have been able to garner the 57 votes, you know, of the entire senators who were there when the election was when the election actually took place. So that, look, whether the APC senators were actually there or not would not have made any difference at all. Saraki would definitely have had his way.
Well, it is possible, but it would have waited for those senators to come to do it. But if you remember, there was this rumor that the other candidate has withdrawn for him. And that was the confusion that the senators who were inside had, that he has withdrawn, you know. But that was not true at all. That is not true at all. No, he didn't withdraw. There was this rumor that he has withdrawn, and there is only one candidate, and there was no other nomination, and therefore the Senate president was returned unopposed. So the old system was based on illegality. The whole system was based on illegality. And they went on with the inauguration without the president. Later,
how damaging is this to your party?
Well, it is not to the party really, to the people of Nigeria. Because it means that the president will now have it very difficult, you know, to do things we said we were going to do to the people. We were going to fight corruption.
But these men are members of your party. I mean, the Senate president now is a member of your party. The Speaker of the House of Reps is a member of your party.
That is not very doubtful. That is not very doubtful. If you remember, the Speaker in the last National Assembly was the member of their party, but his loyalty was not there. So we cannot trust their loyalty under these circumstances. You know?
So how does the party resolve this now?
Pardon?
How do you think the party should resolve this
well,
problem?
They should call them to order. They should call a meeting where the Mr. President will be seated, the national chairman will be seated, and most of the members of the BOT should be seated, and sort out this thing once and for all. If not, another 56 will sit down and impeach the Senate president. It's an endless game. If you were sworn in with 56 candidates, 56 senators in your support, then one day another 56 senators will sit down to remove you and select another Senate president. It's a situation that must not be allowed, to stay. If he knows that he will still win, let everybody sit down, let them have an election, let the whole world see that all the senators are present, except those who are dead or those who have excuse not to be there. Let them all be seated and let us have an election. You don't start a new regime like this. It's disturbing.
Do you think this is going to, end up in court?
Well, yes, they could go to court, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a party issue. The party should first of all try and put their members to order. If not, let the other members go to the Senate. As long as they are 56 or 57, they impeach whoever is there and then elect one of their own. It's an endless game. We always have 56 impeaching whoever is there and putting their own. And then they will not have any time to do any work in the Senate.
Finally, as some people have suggested, do you think the PDP has indirectly or surreptitiously now taken control of the parliament from the APC, even though the APC is in the majority?
From what is happening, it looks like it. It looks like it. If the party has elected or appointed somebody to be the Senate president and one to be the speaker, and they have gone against the party, to team up with the opposition, to get elected into those positions, then of course that is anti-party and we cannot trust their loyalty.
All right, Senator Adefuye, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, the discussion continues. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions. Welcome back. Joining me to discuss more on the crisis rocking the APC is Libros Oshoma, a political analyst and a lawyer. Libros, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start by asking you, is this the beginning of the end of the APC as a united party?
If well managed, no. But from the drums of war that we're hearing, if it continues this way, then you can as well say goodbye to APC. Unlike 1999, we were not, the political actors then were not this politically matured. And then also you had an Obasanjo with a horse whip that could whip everybody into line. But the APC, it is not the same. The kind of influence that the party was trying to wield, akin to the one Obasanjo had then, the president didn't help matters in that direction. And so it would be difficult for you to say that the party will be able to whip everybody.
Let us talk about the president's reaction in all of this crisis. Shortly after the election, the president, of course, the party came out very strongly, saying, look, it will sanction the senator and, these members who actually went against its wish, and, of course, saying it was nothing short of gross indiscipline and treachery. But then we saw the president sounding very soft, not taking the kind of hard stance you would expect from him, and then basically saying, look, what they did was constitutional, even though I would have wished.
Took the opposite of the party's position. And so it was like the party saying a different thing and the president saying a different thing. The party saying, look, this is treacherous. They did not even toe the line up. Even if you listen to Gamade yesterday, you can as well say, if you look at it, if looking at it from his point of view legally, that there was no quorum But even though there is no constitutional provision to determine whether the election of who becomes the Senate president, whether there will be a quorum should be 2/3. It is provided for in their House rule, so, Rule 10 or that 10 Rule 1. And so for a quorum to be 1/3 of the total number. But when you listen to the president's statement saying he would have wished for that the will of the party prevail, how do you wish for a thing you did not support? A wish for the will of the party to prevail, but that what had happened is constitutional. What he politely is basically saying is, well, you guys, you didn't do well, but kudos.
But are you surprised at the reaction of the president, given the fact that he had earlier said he was not interested in who emerged as the leadership of the National Assembly?
Yes, I am not, because he had made it clear for the word go that he wasn't interested in who becomes who emerges as a leader. But for me, the problem I have with such statement is that if truly you want me to believe you that you are charting a new course, that your administration is going to be a departure from the norm for what we are used to seeing with a Nigerian politician, then I expected you, even though I'm not saying you should interfere, I expected you to be interested in who emerges, in the fact that these people should have like minds with you. They should have the same ideology. They should want to drive the way you're driving. They should be going in the same direction with you, so that at the end of the day you have one united force. But a situation where you say you're not interested in whoever emerged, and that means you really understand the powers of the National Assembly. And if you understand the powers of the National Assembly, you still say you don't care, even if a thief emerges, and then that man would, gradually draw you back. And also, these are people with ambition, and then being putting into perspective the powers of the National Assembly, it is easy for a National Assembly that is comprised of ambitious leaders to pull the president down. They've threatened even Obasanjo, as strong as he was. He's been threatened with impeachment, not to talk of a president who does not have his tentacles spread.
Do you think Senator Saraki, the new Senate president, actually handled this well? I mean, when you look at it, given the fact that he had the backing of the PDP senators, you would have imagined that he had the backing also of some of his own party members. You would have imagined that, well, there was just no way he was not going to win that election. To hold that election the way the Senate did, and then for him to get elected unopposed, for me, it shouldn't have gone that way.
For me, there are two things. Two things in the sense that while I blame Saraki, also I'll blame the APC senators. It's like a man who has an exam to write by 10 a.m. and they tell you somebody's organizing a tutorial somewhere else.
They should have ignored the call of the president.
Because if the call of the president, when it becomes very crucial, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because now the president has turned around to say he was not calling anybody, that it was organized, it was a meeting organized by the party.
No, but the presidency had actually come out. We also had Garba Shehu coming out to say that meeting was actually called by the president.
But I read it somewhere also in Punch that additional issued a statement that it was the party leader that summoned the meeting and not the president. And be that as it may, it is high time we begin to do things, properly. It is high time we begin to, if we're talking about due process means that if there's going to be a meeting of the party with the president, and there's also an inauguration going on simultaneously, then there should be a letter transmitted from the office of the president to the clerk of the house, instructing the clerk that, please, I want to meet with my party members. Can you kindly postpone the inauguration?
Unless this whole thing was orchestrated.
Unless it was orchestrated, because the same president had transmitted an instrument to the clerk of the National Assembly, empowering the clerk to go ahead with the inauguration of the National Assembly. When you have empowered the clerk to go ahead with inauguration, at the same time that you've empowered the clerk, you are calling your members for a meeting in a different venue altogether, it truly shows that there was something happening somewhere. And so when you look at that, and then also on the part of Saraki, why I blamed him, because he actually acted as if, he laid an ambush for his party. It looked like a coup at the National Assembly. Like you said, if he had waited for his party members to come back, there's no way he would still not have won that election, because it was obvious he had 49 PDP members on his side. All he just needed from his 59 party members was just a few, and then he would carry the day. But now having to ambush them and wait when they are not around, and then the majority of the PDP senators now endorsing you with a voice vote,
and eventually they got the deputy senate presidency.
Exactly. So
did you see
was
that
like
coming?
An ambush. I didn't see that coming, frankly. What I expected was that as at that time, I expected that definitely the APC would be divided, and then PDP might carry the day, or that APC was going to put his house in order the night before the election and to ensure that they prevail on all the warring parties to sheath their sword and then present a common front. Because if, as they stood at that time, if they had gone to that battle like that, PDP with their 49 members would have probably carried the day. And so also I think that was what now went on in the negotiation between Saraki and the PDP members, that okay, don't worry, you don't feed any candidate, I'll give you the deputy slot, why I should have the #1 position. And then he quickly played out that. But for me, because of future politics and because of his ambition also, I think he should have properly managed it, just like the one of the House of Rep. Even though party members would, still cry foul.
Yeah,
but
about what happened in the House of Representatives.
But it is difficult for you to fault, technically speaking, over what happened in the House of Rep, because it has happened before during in 2011 during Tambuwa's time, and so it was basically a repeat performance of what happened, that the party wanted somebody else but the House decided otherwise. So nobody would have complained, would have been talking about all of this. But for Saraki, it was like you waited for your members, you sent them on an errand, on a voyage of discovery, and foolishly they all went, and then you connived with the opposition party, the same party that you had left before, that you called all sorts, you connived with them and ambushed them and pronounced yourself leader. For me, it shows signs of desperation, and it is not healthy for our politics.
What does this mean even for Buhari himself? Even though he's shown some form of, do I use the word lackadaisical attitude now towards all of this?
What it means is that casted doubts, in the mind of genuine followers of Buhari's credibility, this anti-corruption stand, and then those of the members of the PDP and some sympathizers of the former government who are waiting to see. Now they will tell you, I told you, if you want to chart a new course and then you have a Saraki as your Senate president because you really don't care, you have a Saraki who was a PDP, you can easily say that PDP is still in control. And so if PDP is in control of the organ for making laws in the country, and then how truly can we say that we're chatting?
Is it a coincidence that you look at all the people, the men who have emerged as the three key men who have actually emerged as leaders of the National Assembly? Look at Saraki, he's a former member of the PDP. Ekweremadu, of course, still in the PDP, and then you go to the House of Representatives. The Speaker used to be a member of the PDP.
Basically, if you look at APC is a merger of four equally what you would call, even though permit me to use a different word, four contending forces of equal strength, almost equal strength, because they've won election now. Before the election, the strengths were unequal. You have the new PDP,
because some had argued that
yes,
the new PDP needed to be represented in this government somehow.
The new PDP, who we always feel if we didn't leave our party, there's no way you would have won that election. And then you have the ACN angle, who will always say, if we did not deliver from our angle, and then also provided the platform, you wouldn't have won the election. And then you have the CPC and the AMPP and the Northern angle, who would say, if we did not give the 12 million votes, even your whatever mobilization and platform you provided wouldn't have been actualized. And so all of these contending forces together, what you now have, you had the CPC taking the presidential slot, the ACN taking the vice presidential slot. And so even though the new PDP also missed that vice presidential slot because it was obvious that they wanted it desperately, and so now it was definitely obvious that they had something in the offing. They were planning this. Kwankwaso is in this. Also Atiku also was of the new PDP. Amechi was of the new PDP. These are Strande Saraki, Danjuma Goje. These are strong men in the new PDP. And so you don't expect them to just, these are people who had played politics in PDP, who knows how to wreck a party. And so you don't expect them to just come, fold their hands and allow the APC do its thing. And for Saraki, this is a man who had drawn out sword against his father. He was battle ready against his father, and also against his former party. And so he's not a man you go to sleep with and close your eyes. You should be prepared. And knowing fully well that they didn't get the number 1 and number 2, that is why also the other forces in APC ought to have been battle ready. And when they had their eyes in the meeting, they also needed to have their eyes in what was going on in the National Assembly. But they just completely left the National Assembly and went for the meeting that was never to hold. And eventually the outcome now was like an ambush until today. Anyways, an experience for them, and I pray they learn from it. Otherwise, it will go a long way in haunting the party and even the ambition of Saraki.
But how do you see the APC, resolving this, especially when you consider the fact that some of the senators have said they are going to court over this issue?
Yes, unfortunately, you would expect that out of 59 senators, 23 are saying we will go to court. That is even a minority amongst these 59, because I had expected that they were much more than that. And the moment the largesse of the National Assembly is distributed, also you will still probably see the number reduce. And so that will leave a few hanging in the balance, and that would amount to that will be infinitesimal in the terms of the numbers, where you now begin to talk about political calculations. And then if you look at the tunes coming from some APC senators in the north also, I listened to Senator Ahmed Sani, who said, look, I really don't have any problem with the process. All I have a problem with is Ekweremadu becoming... You
mean Sani Yerima?
No, this new senator from Kaduna State.
Okay, yeah. You're right.
And
the former human rights activist.
And so that
Shehu
Sani, the problem he had is Ekweremadu becoming a deputy senate president, but he really doesn't have it. And that which is the same song that the presidency is singing. And so I believe in party discipline. I'm not a party member, but any organization where there is no discipline, that organization will find it difficult to stand, which was the problem PDP has. But here now, the quagmire that APC have found itself is that Saraki is no longer just a party member. He's now the president of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Dogara is now the speaker of the House of Rep of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And in disciplining these people to set a precedent for people who would want to err, you have to discipline with caution. You will need to bring them together, have a united force, and then you can now say, okay, so that we don't leave this out, there's need to, discipline these people. It must be a unanimous decision. Otherwise, from what we are seeing, where the president will say a different thing and the party will see a different thing, if the party ends up, using the sledgehammer on these two officials, it might turn out to be the beginning of the end of the party.
But from this whole thing, do you think we could see a situation where the PDP, for instance, could become a cog in the wheel of, should I use the word progress now, for the president? Because obviously the PDP might want to use this opportunity now to ensure that, as some of the APC guys are saying, to ensure that the president fails and that the government fails.
Yes, because the kind of politics that is played here, PDP had been singing consistently that APC used its propaganda machineries to pull PDP down. And so now the only opposition I see PDP playing would also be how to invoke a propaganda machineries and then see also how they can infiltrate, because they're already infiltrated, infiltrate this government and find a way of making sure that it does not succeed, so that they will have the last laugh, because it's about pulling him down syndrome. And so if you have a president also who does not care and he thinks he can go the whole hog alone, then you're creating an opportunity for them to succeed. And once they succeed, nobody cares about Nigeria. Nobody cares about the ordinary man. It's, oh, I told you, it's all noise. Already Olisametu said it, that there are people, there are a bunch of people who are so hungry for power, but they really do not know what to do with it. And so that it is showing now. And if care is not taken also, at every opportunity, PDP would want to be their downfall. And all it would take would be just a few ambitious and hungry party members. And we'll see this thing play out again. And it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, it is the Nigerian
So for
people.
you think the PDP is the biggest beneficiary of this?
Apart from, because it would have been impossible.
At least they got the Deputy Senate President.
It would have been impossible. Imagine a PDP government having an APC Deputy Senate President. That
would have been unimaginable.
Exactly. And so for an APC government, for a PDP to get, a Deputy Senate President, it's a feat. And they are a great beneficiary of this crisis. And so if the crisis continues, they will benefit more. Because now, with the kind of say they are going to have in the National Assembly, and so you need to also, and then with the numbers that they have in the Senate, you will need to, at every point, carry them along in the passage of bills. Once they are not carried along, they know what to do. And so, which is why APC does not need any quarrel at this time. The issue of going to court, yes, it is good to go to court, seek clarification to knotty issues, but also I expect them to blame themselves for committing this blunder, knowing fully well that the man that they are dealing with is not a neophyte, is not a stranger to them. They've known him. Even when he left his party to join them. For the fact that he left his party does not mean that he will translate to a progressive overnight. He has never pretended to be one. And so, he has always is a man who is hungry for power. And so, the moment he comes, when you dine with the devil, you dine with a long spoon. And so, all of these other party members that, decamped into APC. I don't expect them to begin to see them in the same light, except they are politically naive. Well, that's what is playing out here now. And so it is the politics of PDP that they just showed them,
and some people have said this is just the politics of 2019. What's your take on that?
Yes, it is. It is very obvious. You see, all of a sudden, Atiku is now an errand boy to the president. These are the same people that decamped from PDP for personal ambition. Atiku had always wanted to be the president of this country. Even Saraki, if you remember in 2007? Saraki was one of the strong contenders for the #1 seat in PDP. And so you don't expect him, you won't say that he has forgotten that ambition all of a sudden. And so with all the actions of Bukola Saraki, it is obvious that he's still interested in that #1 seat. And also, the president has said that he only wants to do one term and is not interested
we don't know about
in a
that.
second term. And then if you look at the president also,
we have to wait and see.
If you look at him also at 72, 4 years from now he will be 76.
Well,
whether he will still
have a man somewhere who is 90 plus and is still president, Robert Mugabe.
That's in Zimbabwe. And so when you put all of this
Nigeria.
Together, this is Nigeria. The president has said, I'm not interested. So there will be some people, they don't want to wait till that time to know whether he's interested or not. Even if he says he's interested, some people will still be preparing their political machineries in the event that anything happens, so they will just launch in on that. That was why I expected that the APC should have been, the president should have been able to look for a team that had the same like minds with him and that would also not be too ambitious. It's a team that when you sleep...
It's not a crime to be ambitious anyway.
No, it's not a crime, really. It's not. But people have been killed for being ambitious. And in politics, loyalty is the name of the game.
Yeah, that's it.
And so you look for a team, when you sleep, they'll be able to tell you, CNC, please rise. This is how we do it. You're learning. Not a team that will help you to sleep because they want to step over you. That's what he has now.
It's a very difficult situation.
Very, very difficult. Very difficult. Well, and then you saw what played out with Senator Oluremi Tinubu and the Senate President.
People have said that. I mean, this Remi Tinubu, going up there and
refusing to shake
their hand.
For me, I think, if you permit me to use that word, it was an irresponsible thing to do, because it was no longer about Remi Tinubu and Bukola Saraki. It was now about Lagos Central Constituency, Senatorial District, and the Senate President. No matter your misgiving, no matter your ill feeling, you should put that aside and play politics of maturity. You are a party member. If Lawal could shake hands with the man that took over, the seat that the party has zoned to him.
Albeit very bitterly, you could see it on the face.
So you could still shake hands with him. And when you refuse to do that, you make it look as if it's politics of Tinubu and Saraki, and which is not supposed to be.
And ego is at play here.
Yes.
There's no point ego, and I just hope that the huge egos in the APC would be able to come together, and but fact is that it will be difficult for the APC to recover from this.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
Cord of trust that binds the party together is now broken.
Even if you know, DG, even that trust is what you will call the trust of the graveyard, because they all know, all of them were in trenches. They just bring up their head at some point to see who is really out there. It was because there was an election to prosecute. There was a common enemy, so it was easy for them to come together and pretend that they all trusted each other and move around together. But the moment that common enemy was defeated, we saw this coming, because it would be difficult. There are forces that wanted power at all cost, and so anybody that is schemed out will even dine with the devil to get it back.
Are you looking forward to Buhari's cabinet?
Yes, I am. And it is the list of the cabinet that will now help me to determine the direction that this government wants to go. Once I see the list of the cabinet, that's when I will make up my mind whether to be hopeful or to say, well, it's same of the same.
It appears to be taking too much time, a long time in coming.
I expected the president to have hit the ground running by now. For a man who's been elected since March and you're inaugurated, there is no kitchen cabinet. For me, it's too slow. It shows that all through March to May, you really were not doing anything.
But of course, we do not have the National Assembly in place.
You don't need the National Assembly to appoint your kitchen cabinet. We're not talking about ministers. If the president is not around now, that means governance is at a standstill, because it's a one-man riot squad for now. There is no chief of staff.
That's true.
There is no...
and you actually don't need the National Assembly to make
there is no secretary to the government of the Federation. There is no chief security officer. And then and nobody even understands the president's body language now. And so when you don't have all of that, and how many days, more than 2 weeks gone now, so it's become very difficult for people to even understand. Some people are saying, yes, there's still time, but the kind of myriads of problems that we have are the type that you need to hit the ground running. Because if you don't hit the ground running and you feel you have enough time, when you finally do, people are going to lose interest in all of those promises, and it will take them time. And trust, once trust is gone, it takes time to build. And so that's why people were expecting that by now would have been seeing directions, and would have been seeing the body language of the president.
Professor Shoma, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you very much for your contributions.
My pleasure, always.
All right, we'll take another break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing something else, something completely different from politics.
Every hour and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360.
2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ, if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.